Hello, everyone. This is a special episode of Back to the City ahead of Friday's Scoop number 2, Plush Minneapolis event. Here are two of the DJs that are involved in that. The curator himself, St. Jose, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
And the very special guest, John Swan, who is presently in New York City.
New York City. What's up, y'all? How's it going?
But will be with us at the VFW on Friday. The other two DJs, Miss Elaine and also Neil Fox, they're going to be celebrating their 10-year anniversary of meeting.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm going to give a little introduction that will get the ball rolling, and then I'll be just kind of facilitating a conversation between these two old friends. When did the two of you first connect?
I would like to say something at the beginning. Also, that would be important to highlight that it's the first time the John comes to Minneapolis. Yeah, to play, right?
Yeah. No, I've been there before in the past for like events, a couple different events, like BBoy events and stuff. But this is my first time playing there, so it's dope. I've always liked the homies I met from the city, like being close to it, and I'm excited to come and pull up.
Nice. So B-Boy events is something that you were involved in, John, back in Milwaukee?
Yeah, back in Milwaukee and still in New York. When I first started DJing, aside from like scratching and being into like hip hop and stuff, I ended up doing a lot of B-Boy events around Milwaukee, and then like traveling with my crew, Motion Disorders, which is a crew based out of Milwaukee, but we got some people in Chicago, and actually I think we got some people in Minneapolis right now too, some of the younger generation. But we travel to like, different cities around the Midwest, whether it's like Detroit, Chicago, Minneapolis, Madison, and even like we travel all around. We were really young, but we were traveling like all around the country for different B-Boy events and stuff. So that was a big part of my upbringing, and like playing, like they mostly dance. I dance a little bit, but like I playing funk and soul and breaks, and also some of the B-Boy events would have DJ battles and stuff like that. So I'd compete in those, but also DJing at like the Latino Community Center and stuff like that kind of really was pretty much from like 15 and up until I left Milwaukee, and then which I left when I was like 23, and then also continued in New York with other crews like Break Fresh, which is a crew from out in New York, and then my homeboy Zube, who's like a very world-renowned B-Boy who I linked up with early on in New York, and we continued to like do his events and just other things around the city. So that's kind of where it started.
Thanks very much, John. Could you say a bit about the funk and disco group West Division?
So nice. So yeah, West Division is a two-piece band that I have out here in New York City, and this is actually a cat who I went to high school with in Milwaukee. We kind of started, he was a little bit older than me and friend of my sister. My sister's a really dope guitarist, and Angie Swan. So we re-linked in New York, where he was touring for a while with Twin Shadow, and right now he plays for Fred Thomas, who's the original bassist for James Brown. But like he is a drummer and works on production, and I do like a lot of cutting and scratching and also work on production. And it's just like a two-piece group that we try to incorporate elements of, funk, soul, house, disco, and I kind of want to showcase scratching and turntablism in a more applicable way to like music as a whole versus like my upbringing, which is just, I guess, very hardcore, like scratching and battles and this and that, and can be it's very niche. So I kind of wanted to use this outfit and like this our style to kind of open up to a bigger audience, and also make, like, a lot of people make turntablists and scratch like bass or scratch driven music that's kind of just like head nod, people kind of watching and this, whereas I wanted to bring it into more of a dance live show type of environment than what it normally is.
Yeah. Something that struck me in the resident advisor bio is that you play at circus art events.
Oh shit, yeah. So that was when I first moved here. I didn't move here to do any music or anything. That's just what I do, and by chance the opportunities present themselves and things come up. But I actually was writing a bunch of sketch comedy and stuff at the time. And doing like kind of arty things like that, and that's where I met my biggest creative partner and collaborator, Zoob. This is the B-boy I spoke of. We were both studying at Upright Citizens Brigade Theater at the time. And we realized like, oh shit, because I knew who he was. Like he didn't know who I was, but I knew who he was because honestly, we ran into his crew in LA and in Chicago a couple times. And his crew, according to the judges, won a lot of those battles. So it's like but we had this background in hip hop and b-boying, so that kind of led to our creativity within also the comedy and the art scene. But as time went on, he started to get more involved with like contortionist stuff, like burlesque shows, like we're like these crazy ass performance art shows. So like we'd bring our elements of like kind of humorous things, less like comedy, but humorous hosting and things where I would DJ. He would kind of do some sort of like avant-garde performance, and we'd host like different variety shows where it's like I get to kind of scratch and stuff, then people will dance, then we'll have someone do like some oddball like performance art stuff. And then we ended up doing shows with like a hybrid Movement Company, which is a very dope group of artists and dancers and people who are like have background from like Cirque du Soleil and things. They do a lot of performances at House of Yes here and across the city and across New York. So it just got we went down very respectfully weird and dope and arty kind of things, and that's what I kind of ended up liking more than some of the performative stuff of UCB, because it could get like that's kind of respectfully one-dimensional is in the sense of like sketch or comedy or this versus this was like all that like the box New York, all that kind of underground like performance art and stuff in New York was like more of kind of the vibe, and that also had like the kind of griminess that we like to it, and it was just broader, and it was also just a great opportunity because that's always a good fun group of people. So people who are down the clown and down the party, so like playing at those parties was always just because it was just so many characters, you know what I'm saying, with us included, and it gave us a opportunity to kind of turn up and express like that artistic side of us.
Kind of like connected to the question of how we both met too, right? Because yeah, basically, like we have a lot of friends in common, and it was after hours, right? The first time I went to the house in Red Hook when we actually connected over there. It's
really funny because you went to the house in Red Hook, but I think even before that, which is funny, I think it was around whatever, like 2013 something. Like I have one of my first photos on Instagram. We met, I think, through my friend Richard or whoever. But one of my first photos I've ever posted on Instagram is my homie, literally first or second photos. My homie Richard playing at this, or just like at this party, and then Jose's like right behind him with the thick mustache and the hair, like he was there too, and like I didn't realize. I was like, oh shit, like this was like, I mean, I knew he was there, but it's just crazy that we have that moment captured like in my Instagram archives. Like it pops up. I archive it, man, but I'll put it back up maybe for this. Yeah, but like it's like they were both DJing together at this party in this backyard.
It was very oh shit, yeah, it was very organic because like we didn't know who we were for many years. Like we hang out, we never kind of like touched like music topics until like maybe like 4 or 5 years of hanging out. Everything was just spending time with friends, going to shows. We catch the same places. But I think it was like through COVID when we actually started to like sitting down in the studio and like spend more time like exploring like our like love for music together. And yeah, pretty much that's how everything started. 15 years ago, I would say, like still pretty new in New York. Yeah, I just moved to New York 15 years before I met you all guys. Yeah.
One thing I appreciated about San Jose is when I met, so like, yeah, we used to see each other around a lot, but even a lot of the homies I hung out in some of the scene where it was a very minimal kind of techno type scene. Like maybe one of my good friend played minimal, and they all played minimal, which is I enjoy, but it's not really my forte. But one thing I liked about Jose is he had it seems like he came from more of like a background of like myself. He had a broader, I think, scope of music and selection, which I kind of was really drawn to his style in that. So I think we kind of connected on that because like from me, like DJing, I know how he plays, and like I know some people I would like to do sets with him because some people can't broaden, or I mean they probably can, but they just kind of like I like this, whereas his spectrum of music was was something that was more appealed to me. So during COVID time, even before we started locking in the studio a lot, a friend of ours had this trailer that we converted to like an outside DJ booth, and St. Jose and myself and other close friends of ours, Gato, Richard, and Drew was helping out with production. We set it up outside of a park in Williamsburg called McCarran Park, and everyone was outdoors at this time because COVID was on. This is early on in COVID too. Like I'm talking like 4 months, like just like right after it started really hitting around February, March, like a couple months like later in summer, we were outside like throwing these events like on a weekly basis, and like where they would gather crowds and stuff, and like we'd all play. I would kind of host and play at the same time, like given the nature of my background of being comfortable with that. And it was really cool because in all honesty, I don't think we did too much stuff in the daylight before COVID. All the parties we hung out with were at like night and shit, but now this is like on a Sunday afternoon or whatever Saturday it was, from like we'd set up at like noon and go to like as late as we can, like to like 11, like all day with like a bunch of different DJs and things. And I think that's where we kind of, from hanging out and doing those events outdoors in the park, and then him coming through to the studio and just kind of working on stuff there, is where we kind of locked in more.
Yeah, it's like such a New York thing, like the after hours basically, because everybody's like super busy working, doing whatever, and then you get to see your friends like after 2 or 3 in the morning sometimes, on a Friday and a Saturday, and pretty much that's how it is, especially in the music scene, the house and techno and underground, whatever. Like we just we see each other when we can. It's always random hours, and it was fun, man. I remember trailer park sessions. It was something very necessary because nobody else was doing pretty much anything in the whole city when it comes to like this type of music, and we had a really nice crowd. Started with like 10-15 people, and then we also moved it closer to Output. Remember?
Toward Output, but even probably more familiar, it was a couple blocks away, or like up maybe like a block away from the Lot Radio, too, because that was right on that little triangle corner. And the cool thing about these events too is like we're so used to like playing in our different spaces and things out in New York, but with this you just get so many passersby and so many people who are like I was headed here or headed wherever, but I'm gonna stay here now, just because it was something that was missed. And you get like a wider variety of people and New Yorkers or whoever's in the city that might not necessarily know about the underground parties and things like that, but they're being exposed to us playing different types of music. And that was really fun too, because it was just like, once again,
I would also like to highlight that it was totally renegade. It was a renegade situation. Yeah. We have no permits, like we were just doing our thing. And I mean,
we didn't have any permits, but the loophole was this was the loophole. Since the speakers, I think one time the cops, I think in early on spoke to us, was that the speakers were on the ground, but the technicality is that the speakers we ended up putting on top of the trailer and with subs in it. So technically that's like a sound system attached to your car. So that was like the loophole was that like it wasn't like an event because it's attached to the trailer, which is attached to this car. And actually, shout out the police didn't really mess with us. They let us do our thing late. The only time they would ever say something is when someone complained at like when we were close to the McCarran Park, and somebody from one of these condos who moved to Brooklyn and from wherever, and I won't put anybody on blast, from wherever, and is like, our kid is trying to sleep. And we were like, I understand your kid is trying to sleep, but it's 6 p.m. on Saturday. Like we're not talking about they would come at like 11. They'd come at like daylight 7, and they live across from a busy park. And it's like, I would understand that a little bit more later, but it's like, this is a weekend and not a disrespectful hour. Okay. But then again, like, so the cops would be like, we're only here because we've got a complaint and we have to show up, but just turn it down a little. They never shut us down, which was awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I loved what you were saying about the breadth of Jose's sound, John. A couple of the aspects of Jose's bio that I love the most. The statement that his sound is a raw, pulsating blend of house, techno, and electro, driven by Latin rhythm and analog heat. I wonder, Xose, if you could say a little bit about your DJ style and Plush, like the ethos of Plush, because Scoop number 2 is presented by Plush. The other thing in the bio is that you move through sound with the discipline of a crate digger and the instinct of a futurist. So maybe that can be tied into.
Well, I'll say syncopation. Like I like the music that I play have to, need to have like a groove into it. I love just all sorts of music, and I try to find the right tracks from each genre, that can be like contribute to each other to create the same vibe. And I love analog sound, like even though, minimal, like well mixed tracks are cool, sometimes raw material are also great, it sounds appealing to me. And yeah, like I love playing all sorts of music. I get bored when I'm just doing just the whole listening to just like 2-3 hours of just techno or 6 hours of house music. So it's like, I try to keep it dynamic as much as I can and enjoy myself, because when I'm enjoying myself, people are gonna see it, they're gonna feel it, and then there's gonna be like the reciprocation of energy, and then we're all gonna be bored. So, I mean, yeah. But I used to, it's funny because when John mentioned that, that I come for like certain sound, like I was doing totally different when I first started. I was doing like hardcore techno and 140, 150 BPM and all this crazy stuff. And now, like, when I moved to New York, when I actually started to like dig more into the house music, I didn't know what house music were very much, I was like maybe like 18 years old, and I knew a few tracks here and there, that you hear over there in Colombia, but most of the record labels, and the people that play vinyl and the DJs, they brought the music from Europe. So you hear a lot of Euro dance and trance music and like techno, European techno, but not so much of like the, American house music labels. Area in New York, you hear house music even in a bar, like the most random, they just playing house music, and just like it's part of the culture over there, fun. Yeah.
What is of Scoop, Xose? What is the vibe of Scoop, and what can everyone expect on Friday?
We're using Scoop to grab, a chunk of flavors, with different styles. Because usually what I do with Plush, I have like 3 different like types of events. One is more, open format, which is Scoop. And then I have like electro, and then I have like more like minimal techno house. So yeah, that's what it is. It's a mix of flavors, like grabbing a little bit different from everybody, and then making it putting it in the same plate. With the platform would be, Plush.
Different flavors, one bowl, stir them up till it's sauce, is what it says. You're big vinyl DJs.
Yeah, I mean, I play on everything, but for this event, I'm going to play vinyl, because you just kind of, I started on only vinyl before. Well, I guess CDJs were there, but they weren't nobody who played vinyl when I started was really fucking with CDJs. They were like, they weren't to the level they are now, that it's a little more tactile and a little more fun to use them. It was still just like a jog wheel and things like that. But then I went from vinyl to Serato, because Serato came out. I started DJing in 2000. Serato came out around 2004, 2005, but I didn't probably switch till like 2009. But then I just kind of, you just keep up with the times, because as things go on more, I feel for a DJ who plays vinyl to not know how to play on everything is probably to your detriment. To a person who plays, I can see someone who started with CDJs or a controller and maybe not necessarily playing vinyl, because that's a big commitment and a big investment. But there's opportunities for me to play on a controller somewhere. CDJs are just there. I love to just bring a USB stick in, but I think it's so with digital music so like accessible, I think it just limits yourself if you can't in this day and age play. I think, well, coming from a vinyl DJ perspective, playing on everything, because I'm not saying buy CDJs, but I'm saying know how to use them or know how to use some of this digital stuff, because it's just out there. It's all DJing and playing music. And I always joke, sometimes some of the most, which this is going to sound pretentious on my end, but I'll get there. Let me land. Some of the most pretentious people I've encountered about playing vinyl only have only played vinyl for 4 years or like 5 years, versus like people who've come from only playing vinyl don't seem to be as pretentious as people who've just started playing vinyl only in the past. Let's even give them a decade. You know what I'm saying? So I think
becoming like a flex, like, oh, I'm a vinyl DJ. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love vinyl. I play vinyl. I found love for vinyl too, and I am like, it was not special like in the 80s or in the 90s. Okay, like it was just the format. You know, vinyl was just the way to play music. And now it's like,
I mean, I'd argue it was still special, but yeah, I know what you're saying. But I know what you're saying. It's just, yeah, like I guess what I say is like I only played vinyl because that's all I had to play. But I think I'm cool. Yeah, I do have the most fun. I do have the most fun playing vinyl, and there's one thing about it too is like I love the connection with it, like. As opposed to like maybe like Jose and I have traded some music with each other, or I've traded music with anybody. It's like you get all these files, you know what I'm saying? It's these things in this computer. Whereas this record, I know where I know where I picked this up and bought this at for the most part, or I know where, like, unless someone like I bought a collection from, but like I know that where I ordered this from. It's an intimate collection of this physical piece of thing that I have, that I may be flipping through my crates and be like, oh, I get inspired by this cover or this album, be like, this what needs to be played now, as opposed to like, you know, having a bunch of little green lines with song titles on them. I think there's just more an emotional connection to playing vinyl.
I forgot to span the first question. I love talking about vinyl. We can do it the whole day, but like, what is Plush? I didn't answer that question very well. I think I would like to say too that it's my idea of community, you know, like I would like to have not just like events, you know, like you just go and get drunk or whatever, you know. Plush wants to implement, and I've been in the first events, you know, like recently maybe not so much, but my first three events, you know, I would like always to have like an artist, somebody doing like live painting, or, you know, showcasing audio visuals. And basically everybody that's doing anything artistic can be part of Plush. You know, this is not just like a DJ platform. Like, you know, you like theatrical stuff, you like visuals, you like, you know, like sculpture, you know, you can all be part of like the same concept, you know. And obviously like music is gonna be the main focus, but it's not just a DJ techno focus situation with Plush, you know, like to keep it versatile, you know, because, you know, like I say, everything of the same all the time, you know, it's just like, it's boring to me, like, it doesn't inspire me. And then, you know, like, I can't live like that. You know, we need like a little bit of movement for the things that I do with everybody. Yeah. So hopefully I get more, you know, more people involved, and not just DJ, you know, like, anybody that's, you know, doing other stuff, like even painting, you know, like I would like to bring somebody that is doing like live painting performance with the DJ's playing, you know.
I love events. Yeah, I love events like that just kind of like look at the bigger picture of just like arts and even community and things like that.
Yeah, back to what you were saying.
And diversity is also very important. Diversity and inclusion. Like, I don't care where you come from. I don't care if you are from here or from there. You know, if you play good music or you're a good person, you're a good artist, you know, have doors open into the concept. Yeah, I don't do culture hangouts.
An inclusive, future-forward music and art concept channeling both underground ethos and radical community. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
I wonder whether either or both of you have a story that you think kind of encapsulates or defines your time working together in New York.
Yeah, we got actually the perfect track is, we got the perfect depiction of it, and it's called Put Your Legs Up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that one. Yeah. Oh my God.
We gotta finish that song. The projects are somewhere, man.
Yeah. No, that is. We have a bunch of we have a bunch of projects that some that we put out and some that we've worked on. But the "Put Your Legs Up" song was going to be a dance anthem. We started with like kind of how, you know, with my style of getting a nice sample on a record. Xose pretty much doing most of we're pretty much all the heavy lifting on the production and stuff, but then like adding kind of my cuts and flair of like flavor to it and looping things, resampling and stuff. But let's see, I'm trying to think if we have any more like do we have like a story? I don't like.
We have a story. Yeah, I have a story saved on my phone somewhere about that particular evening. That was actually the first time we actually did something, because we were just hanging out in the studio most of the time. That was like the way we hang out, like between Swan and our friend Richard, sitting in the studio for 12, 14 hours, you know, like we got lunch there, dinner, breakfast sometimes, you know, and you know, like so most of the time we were not really like doing much music, just like fucking around with loops and whatnot, or creating sounds. But that evening, I remember we locked in, and you were going crazy, doing the scratching, and like, hold on, because sometimes you go too fast. It's not a bad thing. I'm saying you go through like different things, like when you're doing the whole scratching and sampling. And I heard a sample like, yo, let's go back to that. Let's record that little part. And it came out great. I love it. I think I definitely missed that project. We gotta finish it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and totally. That's kind of, it's funny you say about going fast. It's like, that's kind of the process, because I do a lot of cuts on people's for like records and albums, or records and singles and things, and just like the process is just like keep going, but then when I hear something that clicks in my head, repeat that a bunch of times and try to get a clean version like of some sort of creative pattern. And then when it goes into like the engineering and editing phase, it's kind of like deductive, like all that stuff that led up to it, get rid of, move this around. But that's been a really fun process over the past few years, more so than ever, with just like working with different artists and things like that, and adding, like I said, what I want to use specifically when it comes to, because like I have my side of DJing that's more creative, like turntablist and scratching and music creation, and then my side of DJing that's just like, you know, like I said, playing dope music. So it's fun, and even like the project we mentioned earlier, it's fun to kind of, or even making with productions with Xose or anyone, to flex both of those muscles, which I think is needed, which I need to do. It's like I need to, you know, play dope music, and I want people to like have this party, but I also have this other way I would like to express myself as well, and trickle that into my DJing as well when I can. I almost view them as two different things, like turntablism and like creating music as like an instrument, and the craft of DJing, which I also love in all its aspects.
During the pandemic, the two of you were locked in at the Ridgewood studio.
Yeah, it was dope. I had Richard and I shared a studio at this. It was a place called Covert Stations, which was our studio. It was like 1 block away from. It was like 1 block away from like my house, and maybe like a 5-minute bike ride away from where our friend Richard was staying at the time. And so it was just, we were there. It was just like a lot, and we had a lot of equipment in there too. It was really good to just kind of have access to that, because like we weren't stuck in the house. We could be in the studio, like we could be stuck in the studio. I mean, we were outside too. I'm not gonna kid. Parties still happened, but you know, but you also had so we had a nice creative outlet and space.
Yeah. Are there ways in which that period of working together during the pandemic at Bridgewood Studio have informed the ways in which you work now?
We're still like open for experimentation, and at least we know what we like now, so it's easier, you know? Because at that time you were kind of going with our flow. We were doing minimal techno.
Oh yeah.
Crazy minimal techno, and then you're doing the scratching. But at least right now, I think we can, you know, create a house song or something that's more like appealing to like a particular style, because we know each other a little better in the studio and the way we work.
Yeah, I think one of those things that I think was like kind of what he mentioned. So there's been different periods of my life or upcoming in within music where when I first started, I had a bunch of like hardware that I would like to incorporate into like in live show type stuff. So like I had, you know, drum machines and a couple little synths and like add that with my turntable. But then like some years would go by and that hardware would just sit on the side. And I've sold a bunch of hardware like earlier on and just being like, all right, let me just focus on maybe like using a multi-track and doing this DJ stuff. But like I felt it was a distraction for me. But then like it's something that I still want to make. So before the pandemic, I dabbled, like I probably hadn't really dabbled in a DAW too much since like a little bit of Ableton and like Acid Pro from way back in the day. But like Xose had been using, had more like way more production experience than me, as did like Richard. Learned how to use Ableton like better than I did. But it wasn't until the pandemic till I had that time where I kind of sat down and kind of in the box and learned that aspect of things more. And even since then, like now I got tons of hardware again, but I think it was just I needed that time to kind of lock in, because like with the hardware I was using before, it was just live stuff. Like I would kind of have pre-programmed things, but now it's nothing I really would record and document. But now that I know how to use these programs, and also just by like watching these guys use it and stuff, it just kind of made my I want to say more tangible things, like things that actually can like that exist after the performance. I think that's how maybe my style and my production leveled up during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's like you mentioned something very important, because same for me, you know, like for those collaborations, for those times in the studio, I'm like more open, and I'm just open up my mind to like, you know, oh wow, I can definitely use some like actually scratching some other like elements. There's just easier and more fun to make when you're actually touching the turntable and recording, instead of just like grabbing a sample, you know, like chopping it up and looking, I'm gonna just, you know, like put it right here, like micromanaging the whole arrangement. That's just a headache. If you're scratching, man, on top of the beat, you know, it's less editing. It's less editing.
It's like chopping a horn versus having a horn player. It's like you have a human element to it, and like sometimes, like for me, like some people sometimes will be like, oh, are you gonna scratch, or are you gonna do the scratching thing? And like, where it's kind of a weird question to me sometimes, because when I came up, that was just what DJs did. You know, being influenced from people from Chicago, like no matter what, I'm not even talking about just hip hop guys, like Bad Boy Bill, like Godfather, like DJ Funk, like these guys from Chicago and Detroit, like that's just how you DJ. It's almost like equivalent to saying like, hey, are you gonna cut the low when you're mixing it? Or like, are you gonna EQ a little bit? It's just like, no, that's just from my school of how we grew up. That's just DJing. It's not a party trick. It's not a show thing. It's just, this is how records and things were put together. And that's kind of, so that can apply to hip hop, to techno, to funk, to house, to whatever. It's just, it's the element of delivering. Yes, it has like, it's rooted in hip hop elements, but it's just like how the stuff is played and delivered. Even like, it kind of takes me back to like the beginning of like when hip hop and stuff came out. I always like to remind people that like hip hop records didn't exist. It was you were cutting up funk records, you were cutting up some weird jazz record with a break in it, some like Balearic, you know what I'm saying? It was you were like cutting up all these things. Sorry. There's just something happened back there. Go on in, boys. Go ahead, Hold on. Okay, so this is some of the characters. You know, we got Zoom and we got Richard.
Plush, Minneapolis.
Anyway,
No.
I didn't even know he was back there. Yeah, those are so. Oh, the characters have faces. Yeah, so it's just how you put shit together. This guy was quiet as a mouse. Anyway, I got lost track. That's the homies.
Nice. So ahead of the interview, Jose was reflecting on the one hand, the grit of New York City, and on the other hand, the groundedness of the Midwest. This is going to be your first time DJing in Minneapolis, but you came up in Milwaukee. I wonder if we could close with some reflection on the differences, similarities, relationship between the New York scene and the Midwest scene.
Yes. What is that?
Be honest.
Be honest? Oh, I'll be 100% honest. Jesus Christ. So we were very tapped in Milwaukee at an early age. Like, even though I came up within like the kind of the hip hop side of things, Drop Bass Network was throwing raves all throughout the Midwest in Milwaukee. Massive Records was like an underground rave scene thing, which is I was kind of too young to go to, but I remember seeing flyers. I remember going to Revolution's record store on downtown Milwaukee, going to Massive Record Store where this guy, this legendary like hardcore kind of like just like hardcore electronic music guy Dormouse worked at. The homies who were older, like DJ YB was with a team function, so a lot of the nights were like house and hip hop combined. So it's like the Midwest has a rich rave and electronic scene. I mean, aside from, you know, obviously already, because think about it, Chicago and Detroit first off, but then even like Wisconsin itself was known and like for like having raves and stuff like that. So on that level, it was all around and being exposed to the music, and we were in the know, but the abundance of New York is probably the main difference. It's just so much of it everywhere, just purely because the size and the numbers of people. You can have all these different sorts of nights and things going on in different places. So I think that's probably the main difference, is like those of us in the know in Milwaukee like had it here and there, but then like there's scenes I don't ever go to the parties of in New York, but it's a whole community of things that like are going on that like is just not in my wheelhouse, but it just happens. So I think it's not an issue of like one, like this New York is more tapped in or anything. It's just there's just more of it, I think, is one of the things. So, and then you say, what's it like moving from New York to like this? So this is a realization like I had when I was young coming up. So we went to well, first off, we would go to like when I was 17, I went to my first DEMF, which we were calling at the time, Detroit Electronic Music Festival. But I didn't go there because I was that into electronic. I liked electronic music. We went there because there were B-boys there. Our friend Tara, who was like, you know, we were like 17, she was like 22 or 23 at the time, had the car, and like she drove us there, and like we went there just because there were dancers. You know what I'm saying? But like, so, but then we would also go to like I went to like Winter Music Conference when I was like, well, like actually just turned 21 in like 2005. Like Claude Van Stroke was really, it's funny because like the Whistler by Claude Van Stroke was like the big song at the time in like the underground scene, like the underground parties there. It was like a lot of Claude Van Stroke was being played everywhere. But then on the other spectrum of like the more mainstream type, it was like Bob Sinclair's World Hold On. So it was just funny. It was like World Hold On and the Whistler. Both had whistles in it. But we went to a B-boy battle in 2006 in California, where like my friends had got flown out there because they won a competition, and then I went there to go support with my homie Antonio with a handful of records. We were staying with some of my sister Angela's friends in the Mission, and they had a house party that they were like, oh, we're going to this house party. You want to come with this house party with us? I brought this stack of records, and I was like, cool. They let me play, and they were like, oh, like everyone was really hyped on the set. They're like, dope, this is really dope. Like, we don't hear DJs like this. This is really dope. Like, you're killing it. And I was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, half the DJs I'm influenced by and like are from this city, from San Francisco. Like, there's like dope DJs. Like, what are you talking about? Then it occurred to me, in a bigger metropolitan area like San Francisco, they have every corner needs DJs, and there's a lot more spaces to DJ at. Whereas it's probably just somebody's homie on the turntables or somebody just here who's not necessarily that trained. I know the dope DJs because I'm tapped in and I seek out the dope DJs. And that was kind of one of the things that kind of, I think, took down there's never any fear of anything, but kind of put New York as a state of mind perspective to me. Because once again, just like New York, I know a ton of dope DJs from there. But then it occurred to me like, well, all these places need DJs. So there ain't like they're like, some of them might be whack and some of them are whack. Whereas one of the weird things about Milwaukee, or cool things about Milwaukee, is there's not that many spots that that you can have these DJs coming up about this spot. So the level of DJ was pretty high because to play at these spots, like you had to be dope. So like the level was really fucking high. And like, so even with my crew of people, we ended up playing in those spots eventually, but like we ended up just like, we were a lot young. Like I started DJing on Milwaukee when I was 16 and my other homies were like 7. So some of the spots we would just kind of they just let us into play, but then we end up building our own nights. So just coming into New York with that mentality of things like that, or it's just like you can make something happen versus trying to get put on or whatever, which getting put on in New York, when I found out, has to do not with just how good or how good you are, if your relationships with people. And that's the thing I think kind of also tracks it across many fields, not even just exclusively to music and things. It's like you can put in the work and have this kind of skill or this even like this catalog or whatever, but if you need to build relations with people and not be an asshole to kind of flourish in either of these scenes. So it's not like it wasn't a big it wasn't like an intimidating thing ever. And also by the time I moved to New York, I'd won a bunch of DJ battles and been to a couple US finals, so I at least had like people name recognition in the hip hop scene and stuff like that. So it wasn't like I already had cut my teeth and had my chops and had enough of a background that could give me some, I guess, just people were like down with who I was and what I was offering, as opposed to like, because I had an unarguable skill set. Yeah.
Milwaukee, your time in Milwaukee really prepared you very well for your time in New York. Well,
oh my God, very well. It was. I couldn't. It was fantastic. Like I said, it's mainly just the like the size of things. There's just Milwaukee. There's just so much more of it around everywhere in New York. But in Milwaukee, it was a very high level, very like, kind of like what Xose is talking about. We had like live art during shows. They'd have house in some room, hip hop in some room, and this other room have like a PA system, like, you know, like people doing live and synths and shit. So it was like, really shout out to this guy YB. He had this event called Wailed at this place called Ty Joe's in Milwaukee. That was, I think, very kind of, that even opened up my mind more to, because I got into music kind of for liking electronic music, like listening to like MTV Amp soundtrack that had like Future Sound of London and things like that, like Danny the Wild Child, drum and bass stuff. But then when I was like 14, I went to a Beastie Boys concert in Milwaukee. It was for the Hello Nasty tour, and saw Mixmaster Mike play, and that's what kind of switched me from liking electronic music to like, well, I want to do that, and I want to like do scratching and stuff like that. So it's just, yeah, like this stuff is there. So I was prepared for New York, but New York there's just always something, and always it's continuously interesting.
Yeah, it's like the competition in New York is brutal, and definitely when you come with a state of mind, it kind of shows when you like play in different cities by the way, you know, we have to promote and go, the way we have to like put ourselves out there. It's just like kind of has to be super neat. Everything has to be like, you know, from the flyers to the design to the location that you go, the equipment, sound system, because yeah, it's a lot of pretty much, but like, you know, people see those efforts, and at least in New York, you know, like aesthetics matter. You know, that's how it is.
Yeah, aesthetics and consistency.
Yeah, aesthetics and consistency.
I like how you've carried those things from New York to Minneapolis, Jose, with, you know, this is such a lovely flyer and the poster behind you as well.
I love it, thank you. I really love the designer. I mean, he's a great designer from actually the Philippines. Actually, I met him through Fiverr when I was looking for somebody that make a cover EP from a past release. And that's how I discovered him. And I think that was gonna be great for this occasion, and he did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I came up with the whole idea, the concept of the animals, because like, okay, Scoop, it's like a bunch of different breeds of animals and playing the concrete jungle, and then funky psychedelic style.
Yeah.
Whose
idea was it to turn a swan into a goose?
You know what? That's
I'm just kidding. I'm messing with it. I'm messing with it. I'm messing
I don't know. The animal that Swan needs to be a swan, and when he sent me the finished version, like he came out like a geese. So yes.
I'm messing with him.
You know what? In the prior version, I didn't even look like a koala. I looked like a bear.
Oh damn.
But shout out to the homie Garvin Comics. You can follow on Instagram if you want. Yeah, it's a lot of good stuff happening in the Philippines. Hopefully, I can go travel there one day. Yeah.
Nice.
I love it. It is you though with the hair, isn't it? That's certainly your hair.
Oh, that's the hair. That's the hair. That's totally the hair. That's my beret. I wear a beret sometimes. Who knows? I might show up. I might wear a beret.
Yeah. Thanks to the goose.
Yeah, thanks to the geese and a yellow nose.
We're really excited for Friday, and we're going to give you a nice warm welcome.
Nice, excited to come up.
We're going to be. It's not just these two DJs, but there'll also be Neil and Elaine from the Headspace Collective, and it will be to the day, I think, 10 years since they first met. So we'll be celebrating that as well, all at the VFW, beginning at 10 o'clock, going till 2 a.m. We're really excited to have you with us, John.
I'm excited to be, and thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to get out there.
If you're watching this, viewers, you can get your advance tickets for $10 with a small fee. I've got the QR code up on the screen, just scan that. Otherwise, it's $15 at the door. And we will see you at the VFW for Scoop number 2 on Friday.
Scoop 2 Friday.
Ready. Can't wait.